She's 80 years old. She can't hunt. She can't run. She hasn't been able to have a baby in 30 years. By every rule of nature, she should be dead already. But she's not. She's sitting by the fire, holding a baby that isn't hers. And that baby is about to survive because of her. Here's the question nobody asks enough. Why do human women live for decades after they stop being able to reproduce? In the animal kingdom, that basically never happens. Once an animal can't make more of itself, evolution stops caring about it. Salmon die right after they spawn. Female elephants keep having babies almost until the day they die. Most primates too. So why are human grandmothers different? Why did evolution let women live 30, 40 years past menopause, doing nothing that counts as reproduction in the biological sense? This isn't a small detail. Scientists call it one of the strangest puzzles in human evolution, and the answer changes how you think about your own grandmother completely. Let's start with the basic rule evolution follows. It's brutally simple. If a trait helps you make more babies, it sticks around. If it doesn't, it fades out over generations. That's it. That's the whole game. So menopause should be a disaster for evolution. A woman who can't have children anymore isn't adding new genes to the pool. By the cold math of natural selection, she should just die once her reproductive years end. Save the resources for someone who can still breed. But here's the weird part. Human women don't die. They live on, often in perfect health, for decades. And it's not just a modern thing caused by hospitals and medicine. Anthropologists studying hunter-gatherer groups, people living the way humans lived for almost all of our history, found the exact same pattern. Women who survived childhood regularly lived into their 60s, 70s, sometimes longer, long after their bodies stopped being able to have children. So something else must be going on. Some other reason, evolution decided these women were worth keeping around. And once you find that reason, everything about early human survival starts making a lot more sense. Here's the theory that changed everything. It's called the grandmother hypothesis. Picture an early human tribe. A mother just had her third child. She's exhausted. She still has to feed her older kids, gather food, and now nurse a newborn that needs constant attention. Every hour she spends caring for the baby is an hour she's not gathering food for everyone else. Now imagine her own mother is still alive, still strong enough to walk, dig up roots, crack nuts, carry water. That grandmother can step in. She can feed the older kids, she can gather extra food, she can even help babysit while the mother works, which means the mother can have another child sooner than she could on her own, which means more grandchildren survive, which means the grandmother's genes, the ones that let her live this long and stay this capable, get passed down more successfully than the genes of women who died right after menopause. So evolution didn't keep grandmothers around because they could still have babies. It kept them around because they helped everyone else have more babies. That's the twist. Grandmothers weren't leftover, they were an upgrade. But this still leaves a strange problem. If living longer helps the whole group, why did women stop being able to have children at all? Why not just let them keep having babies until they die, like elephants do? Turns out that would have made things worse, not better. Having a baby late in life is dangerous, really dangerous, especially without modern medicine. Older mothers face higher risks of complications, and so did their babies. So a woman who kept trying to have children into her 60s was gambling with her own life. If she died in childbirth, she wasn't just losing that baby, she was losing her ability to help her older children and grandchildren survive too. In other words, an older woman was worth more alive and finished having kids than dead and still trying. So evolution made a trade. Shut down the reproductive system early. Keep the rest of the body running for decades longer. It's almost like evolution decided these women had a new job, not making more humans, keeping the ones who already existed alive. And once you see it that way, the whole shape of the family starts to look different, because grandmothers weren't just extra hands for gathering food. They were the memory of the tribe. Think about how dangerous the ancient world was. Poisonous plants, unpredictable weather, rare diseases, difficult childbirths that could go wrong in a dozen different ways. A 20-year-old mother might be dealing with something for the very first time. A 70-year-old grandmother had probably already seen it, maybe more than once. She knew which berries looked fine, but would make you sick. She knew what herbs helped a fever go down. She knew what to do when a baby wouldn't stop crying, because she'd raised 3 or 4 children of her own already. That knowledge didn't exist in a book. There were no books. It only existed in her head, which means every year she stayed alive, she wasn't just helping physically, she was protecting the entire group with decades of memory nobody else had. And here's where the story gets bigger than just one family. Anthropologists think this grandmother effect might be one of the reasons humans developed such tight social bonds in the first place. In most animal groups, once you're too old to contribute, you're basically invisible to the group's survival. But in early human tribes, the oldest members became some of the most valuable. That changes everything about how a society forms. It means elders get protected instead of abandoned. It means knowledge gets passed down instead of lost. It means the group starts thinking generations ahead, not just day to day. Some researchers even argue that grandmothers helped humans develop longer childhoods overall, because with extra caretakers around, children didn't need to grow up and become self-sufficient as fast. They could stay dependent longer, which gave their brains more time to develop. More time to develop meant more room for language, for problem solving, for the kind of complex thinking that eventually led to art, tools, and eventually everything we call civilization. So that 80-year-old woman by the fire holding a baby, that isn't hers. She's not a leftover from evolution. She might be one of the reasons evolution let human brains get so big and human societies get so complex in the first place. The most advanced species on the planet may owe part of its success to something as ordinary as a grandmother staying alive long enough to help raise the next generation.